How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Swanee, and for today's video, I'm going to be showing off the brand new bear build in the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a showcase of this build, and I'm going to show you where you can get each of these pieces to complete the set. I'm going to show you where to get the Iron Rivet set, the Pelt of Ralva, the Red Bear Claws, and the Roar of Rugalea. Now, this is very quickly becoming one of my new favorite builds in Elden Ring because, one, just look at it. It looks freaking badass. You're wearing a bear pelt, you have bear claws, and you're just slashing the crap out of people. Two, the attacks from the bear claws are just so fast and they feel just so deadly. And they do bleed damage, which is always a plus because bleed damage has just always been very powerful in Elden Ring. So the claws are really good at taking out individual enemies. And then I like to use the roar for some of those bigger enemies like the knights, because you can use the roar to kind of stun lock them and break them out of their defensive positions. So the knights are always a big pain in the ass, especially the ones on the horses and stuff. And I found that the combination of the roar and the claws just make quick work of the knights. And the roar is also pretty good at taking out large groups of enemies. If you're ever surrounded by a large group, you just do the roar and you can take out all of them in just a couple of hits. So first up, let's take a look at the Red Bear's Claws and the Iron Rivet set. I'm going to show you where to get these, and I'm going to go over the stats of the claws. So for the claws, when they're fully maxed out, they have B strength scaling and D dexterity scaling, and they require 20 strength and 10 dexterity to use them. They do cause blood loss buildup, which is always nice, and they have the unique skill, a Red Bear Hunt, and it says that it slaughters prey with sharp claws and a great swipe of the arm. The attack creates a vacuum which deals continuous damage. Repeated inputs allow for up to 2 follow-up attacks. And you can find both the Iron Rivet set and the Red Bear Claws over at the Northern Nameless Mausoleum. Now, it is a little bit tricky to get here. You do have to progress a little bit into the DLC. You want to make your way across the Illic Great Bridge, and then over here in this location you're going to find the Morth Ruins. Now, there is a site of grace outside the Morth Ruins, and once you get to that site of grace, you're going to want to just follow the path that I take. Now, there's a little body of water up north of the Morth Ruins, and it's going to lead you through a cave, which is going to take you underneath this big chunk of land, where you'll find the Ancient Ruins base site of grace, and then once you find this site of grace, you're going to want to continue southwest from here. Continue forward until you find this gust of wind. Now, the first time you find this, it is going to be covered up by some rocks. Just keep going past the gust of wind up the hill, and you will find the rocks that you have to destroy to release the wind. Ride the wind up the mountain, clear to the top, and here you will find the Northern Nameless Mausoleum. Now, inside the mausoleum, you will encounter the Red Bear mini-boss. Now, they are wearing the full armor set, so be careful because they are very fast and they can do a ton of damage very quickly. And then once you defeat this boss, you will get the full Iron Rivet set and the Red Bear's Claws. Now, after you killed the boss and you're up here at this mausoleum, you might as well turn around and jump back down the same gust of winds that brought you up here, and then you're going to want to head northwest until you come across this forest up here. And then once you get to this forest, you're going to encounter the Great Rune Bear of Rugalea, and regular rune bears are no joke. I know they've been a meme forever in just the base game of Elden Ring, so if you struggle with regular rune bears, this rune bear can be a pretty big pain in the butt, so I recommend that you use Torrent. I use Torrent and then kind of just chipped away at its health, because fighting it head on foot can be pretty dangerous. This rune bear has a lot of big ground slam attacks that do a ton of area effect damage, so trust me, Torrent is probably the way to go when it comes to this boss encounter. And then once you are finally able to defeat Rugalea, you will be rewarded with the Roar of Rugalea incantation. Now, the Roar of Rugalea requires 14 faith to be able to cast it. It will cost you 17 FP to cast, so it is pretty cheap when it comes to casting it, so you can spam it pretty much as often as you want. And its description says that it channels a great red bear to emit a furious roar. And then, like I said earlier, this is really great at stunning enemies. If there's a bunch of enemies around you, it can do a big AoE damage effect. And then if you continuously hold down the attack button, it will send out a second roar, which will do a big burst of damage. Now the next piece is the Pelt of Ralva, and to get this you can either start from the Morth Ruins again, or you can start at the Site of Grace a little west of it at the High Road Cross. Now from here you want to head north until you reach this enemy camp with a bunch of tents, and then you want to head directly east until you reach this small body of water. Here you will find the Great Rune Bear Ravla, and once you defeat it, you will get the Pelt of Ravla. This will not only make you, look like a bear, but its description says that it enhances incantations of what is jokingly called the Bear Communion, which will of course pair and buff the roar that you just unlocked. Now next up, I want to talk about the build itself. So I'm going with the Red Bear Claws obviously because they can get off a ton of quick attacks and they do bleed damage. And then when it comes to the seal, I'm not sure if a bear seal exists yet, but since the roar is faith-based, I went with the Erdtree seal because it gives you S scaling for faith, so that's going to pair pretty well with the roar. Then of course I'm going with the Pelt since it does buff the roar as well. Then for the armor pieces, other than the fact that they look cool, I'm not a big fan of the armor pieces. I'm probably going to play around and find a better armor set. For example, this armor set that gives me, increased damage, but increases the damage that I'm taking. I like to go with this set, which I will probably cover in another video, but this is also a DLC armor set, and I like to go with that because, it increases my damage. So any sort of armor pieces that give you any sort of added bonuses outside of this Iron Rivet armor is probably a better option. And then for the talismans, I like to go with the Godskin Swaddling Cloth because successive attacks restore your HP. And because the Bear Claws attack so rapidly, you're going to be getting in a ton of successive attacks and you're going to be constantly restoring your health that way. Then I went with the Prosthesis because it boosts your dexterity and raises your attack power with successive attacks. And because the Bear Claws use D dexterity, any increase of dexterity is going to be helpful. Then I went with the Rotten Wingsword Insignia, which greatly raises your attack power with successive attacks. And then I was testing out the Roar Medallion to see if it would buff my roar attack. But then when I wasn't using the Roar Medallion, I was going with the Blade of Mercy because it raises your attack power after each critical hit. And then I even played around with the Lord of Blood Talisman because blood loss in vicinity increases your attack power. And since the claws do bleed damage, you are going to get some bleed procs every so often, which will then make your claws hit for even harder. So there's actually a number of really cool combinations you can pull off with this new armor set. I love just how fast it is and how quickly it melts through individual enemies. If you're the type of player that's constantly on the move and you're always dodging attacks and you like to be fast and agile, I feel like this is going to be the set for you. And if not, I would recommend getting it anyway just because it looks freaking amazing. So that is going to do it for everything in today's video, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. If this video helped you out, then consider giving it a thumbs up because it helps me out in the algorithm and it's greatly appreciated. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. That way you don't miss out on any future Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree videos. And that's going to do it for me, guys, and I will talk to you all next time.